Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe. All right, welcome everyone. I am your host, Joe Pavlansky, pop culture historian and writer for Scary Monsters magazine. Co-hosting, as always, is the maestro of mail order mysteries and owner of houseoftheunusual.com. The one, the only, Eddie Guevara. Today we have two special guests with us. We have the king of the sea monkeys, Todd Machin.
Supreme leader. Right.
And we have treasure hunter, David Vapnitsky. Hello, gentlemen. How's it going? Todd, I just want to say I have my sea monkeys are going good that you sent me.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Thank you. I feed them again tomorrow. Will be their second feeding, so they've been going good. So
Friday's our feed day too. So yeah, well, good. Glad to hear it, Joe.
Yep. And David, it's your first time on here with us. Why don't you give everybody a little background about yourself and a little introduction, if you will. Put you on the spot right off the bat.
That's all right. I'm able to handle it, I believe. So as we all know, Happy New Year to everybody, 2021. And my story, for today's purposes, is not current. It's in the past. So I'm going to take you back to as far as 1976, when I met a gentleman named Melvin A. Fisher, the greatest treasure hunter in the world. And I had heard about him through a school teacher, and he had given me some National Geographics to read about Mel salvaging a fleet off of Fort Pierce and Sebastian Inlet called the 1715 Fleet. And in this National Geographic, when I was a 15-year-old kid in 1976, I literally saw these gold doubloons, pieces of 8, and other treasures, and I wanted to meet Mel Fisher. So I went down to Florida with this gentleman's family, and we went to Mel Fisher's Spanish Galleon Museum. And in 1976, when we arrived there, I don't know if any of you saw the Chevy Chase movie, Wally's World. There was a scene actually with Wally's World, is what I'm trying to say. And,
on the vacation?
Yeah, one of those vacation movies. So I got to Mel Fisher's museum, and literally we were going to meet Mel and go in there, and the museum was closed. So it was like sorry, folks, park's closed.
Did you do the same thing, though? Did you have a gun and made him open it for you?
I should have taken Mel on a roller coaster ride with a gun. However, he helped me out. Mel Fisher came walking down the plank to the Galleon Museum. And he was actually right there, and I was staring at him. And my friend, who's also, his name was Mel, he had passed away since that time. However, he said, "Can David, me, take a picture with you, Mel Fisher?" And Mel said, "Sure." And what happened was Mel Fisher, who liked to smoke his cigarettes, I remember he flicked his cigarette away. He got ready for the picture. And right before we took the picture, Mel Fisher took a gold bar out of his pocket and he plucked it in my hand, and my Mel snapped the picture. And if you ever heard of methamphetamines or drugs of any type of addiction, crack cocaine or whatever you want to call it, I was hooked on sunken treasure. And I have a picture, and I apologize, it's a Kodachrome picture from 1976, and it's very dark and probably difficult to see, but I'm going to do the best I can for the group here. If you're seeing this picture, what you're seeing is the Spanish galleon behind us.
Oh, wow.
You're seeing Mel Fisher, and you're seeing Dave Vapnitsky at 15 years old, maybe 16. And I'm still that trim currently as we speak. I want you to know that. And there's the gold bar that Mel placed in my hand.
Wow.
So
that's really cool.
if that doesn't hook a 16-year-old kid, nothing would right there. So,
Yeah, that would definitely get me going too. I mean, I don't know. All that I ever got for treasure was this thing that Eddie gave me, but I have yet to find anything.
I'm familiar with that treasure map, by the way.
Yeah, I've been all over the place trying to look for stuff, and just like the packages he sent me, there's nothing there. But I think you could vouch for that.
Well, I was fortunate. The treasure hunt that I went on, we actually really found treasure. But just to digress real quick, so obviously I wasn't a diver or working for Mel Fisher. I just got to meet him. And then what happened was when I was 19, maybe 18, I went down to Key West, his base of operations, where he was still looking for the Atocha. The Atocha, by the way, was a known Spanish galleon that they thought to be located off the Marquesas Keys of Florida, Key West. And it was purported to have $400 to $600 million in treasure on board. And that's known through the manifests that were in Spain, so forth and so on. And Mel at that time had been finding little bits and drabs of the Atocha, musket balls, pot shards, but he's still looking for what we call the mother lode, that main 36 tons of gold and silver. So when I went down there when I was 19, he still hadn't found the Atocha, but he was looking for it. And anyway, I went there and I tried to get a job for them. And when they interviewed me, they would say something like this: Dave, do you have any diesel boat experience? And I'm from Queens, New York, Briarwood, Queens, New York. And I was like, no, but I've been on a boat.
I've seen movies with boats.
I've seen Jaws, and they had a boat in the movie. So I didn't have any diesel boat experience with, diesel engines, Cummins engines, whatever they may have been, Detroit engines. So make a long story short, they said, giving me the best of all opportunities, do you have any, deep water diving experience? I said, no. Do you have any photography experience? No. Do you have any, probably asked me a couple of other experiences that would be helpful to them. And then they were so kind, they even asked, do you know how to cook? Thinking possibly maybe I could cook for the crew. And I said, I don't know how to cook. And they thanked me very much for coming in and applying. And they said, we really can't hire you. You have no talents in our field.
You could have been used for bait.
Yeah, right.
I could have been used as a decoy for the barracuda. So every year I would go down there the next year at 20 and I would apply again and I would get rejected again. And then maybe at 21, I went down there again and I would get rejected again. But what I learned was the mistake I was making was, as a 20-year-old, I had a net worth of $500 to my name. And in those days, in that time, $500 was a lot of money, at least to me it was. And I would fly on Eastern Airlines, if any of you remember Eastern Airlines, down to Key West, Florida. I'd get a motel room in Key West for $49, $59 a night. I'd spend 5 nights. I'd try to get a job with Mel Fisher. They'd say no. I'd go back to my hotel room. I'd make a vacation out of it. And then, quite frankly, I'd get on my return trip on Eastern Airlines back to New York, JFK Airport. And the final year that I went down there, which was 1984, I tried something different. I said, I'm not going to buy a return airfare ticket. I'm going to go down there with a Army duffel bag, pack my clothes, and I have nowhere to live. I'm going to sleep on park benches if need be. And I got down there to the boats and they said, hey, good seeing you. A lot of them had known me by now, but I still wasn't hired. And literally, I slept on park benches. And finally, Mel's son, after hearing that there was a kid from Queens, New York, down there trying to get a job sleeping on benches, he told me, hey, come on, help us paint one of our boats in dry dock. And I helped them do that. And unbeknownst to me, he said, anybody who helped us paint our boat and you were here every day on time, you didn't ask for any money or anything, well, you're one of our crew members. So I thanked him so kindly. I got on board and I was a crew member of the motor vehicle called the Bookmaker. And I was officially now a member of Mel Fisher's Golden Crew.
Wow, that I guess the persistence paid off then pretty well.
That's
going back every year.
That's the advice I give to everybody. You know, I don't know if you're watching this and every different person's at a different stage in their lives, but let's assume they're trying to get a job with Google or something and they're running into difficulty. My advice to anybody who has a dream and they want to make that dream come true is exactly, Joe, as you said, persistence and determination is the key because, you know, when I had that one-way ticket home and I had that bridge to get back home, it was always easy to accept the no job. But when I had no other options, you kind of find a new gear to kick it into. And that's what I did. And again, the rest is history. Right.
So you allowed them to kind of back you into, to a dead end and you had nowhere to go but forward. And, that's what you did. So you didn't have that out, like you said, you didn't have that say, oh, well, you could just turn around and walk back. Your back was already up against the wall because you had nowhere to go. So
well,
you had one way.
one good thing about the persistence you guys are talking about, I'm glad you gave me that hope because I got some goldfish in here. I've been trying to see. So I guess if I'm persistent enough, they'll eventually appear. No problem.
Are those invisible goldfish?
I don't know. I mean, they told me they're in here, but I can't find them. So go ahead, finish your story there.
Okay. So I'm working for Mel Fisher, and I'm with his son, and we're on the dive boat. I'm going to show some pictures if you guys don't mind, by the way.
Yeah, right. Let me go ahead. We'll put you.
They're all over the place, so I might have to find them at some point, but I'll find a picture if I can of the boat I was on.
Now did you only exclusively do, treasure hunting at sea, or did you do anything on land as well?
On land, I had done with this school teacher. We had gone to New Jersey, and we would hunt for ancient shark's teeth in a stream bed, and we would go hunting for, in Franklin, New Jersey, fluorescent minerals.
Okay.
So I don't consider that serious treasure hunting, but the interest in finding fossils and minerals was there, even as a young kid. But this was the national big time, treasure hunt. This was not a, little thing.
Right.
So I did find that picture I was looking for. This is the motor vehicle Bookmaker.
Oh, wow. That's really nice.
That's in berth, in dry dock, and it's a 36-foot Hatteras. It's not a luxury vessel anymore. At this time, it was used for a salvage. And what I'm doing is I'm there in the red shirt, and that's when I was painting the bottom. You see that blue copper paint you put on there to prevent barnacles and stuff?
Yeah.
So I had painted that, and then I was helping Kim Fisher, who's now the owner of the company, Treasure Salvers. We were putting mailboxes. You see those aluminum mailboxes at the transom in the back of the boat there?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So when you put those on a boat, when you spin the propeller and the boat is anchored at 4 points, it blows prop wash water down to the ocean floor, and it blasts, let's say, a 20-foot hole in the sand. And all the gold and silver that was laying on the sand 400 years ago went down to bedrock, and that's how you find treasure. It's laying on the bedrock.
Oh wow.
Okay. So tell us a story then when you actually went and did. I remember seeing on television in Fox News at 2:00 in the morning, they said they're lifting up over $1 billion, not 1 million, $1 billion in gold. And I saw them carrying it in white buckets.
That's
Those
correct.
5-gallon paint. I remember seeing that.
Well, I'll show you exactly what was happening. So what happened was when we talk about the Atocha, and if we go forward to its being found, that's called the cultural main deposit. And what's the cultural main deposit of the Atocha? That means that you've found 36 tons of gold and silver. So I'll give you some examples.
I can't even think of that.
Well, I can imagine Todd sitting on that. Oh man.
Well, here's an example. This is
a life-size sea monkey king.
Well, the problem is, hold on a second. Let's bring
Sure.
bring that up again there.
Sure.
The problem is that Todd is the supreme ruler, so he should be able to. Wow, that's where you guys came across.
That's on the boat, and we put them in that position. They were found in the coral and in the ocean floor.
Is that all gold?
Those are gold bars. I'm going to show you a
Holy
replica.
moly.
I'm going to show you a replica of one. I always disclose whether it's a real item or not, but I'm going to show you a replica of one of those bars. But those are 165 gold bars that were found on the Atocha. And today, when they come to auction, they sell for 125,000, 186,000, 200,000.
Wow.
So there's a couple of million right there.
I'll take two of them.
Yeah.
Hey, David. Now,
yes, sir.
So this was your first time out on this boat with these people?
Well, I was working before the Atocha Motherlode was found.
Okay.
The bookmaker, the boat I showed you, before we put the mailboxes on it, we were primarily doing what was called magging. We were looking for the Atocha, which means we were dragging a proton magnetometer behind the boat. So,
one of those. I think I have one somewhere behind.
If you got a proton magnetometer, that's how you find shipwrecks, because they.
So what is that?
What is a proton magnetometer?
Yeah, real quick for us that don't know what it is.
It's literally, to make it easy, it's a metal detector that's towed behind a boat.
Okay.
But what it does is, if there's a big iron anchor, it detects an anomaly in the Earth's magnetic, frequency.
Oh,
and
okay.
you then throw over a buoy and check it out. And if you find an old Spanish galleon anchor, you're doing pretty good, by the way, because that's maybe where the mother lode is going to be.
I see that in the Oak Island Treasure that I watch every week, and I know what you're talking about. I've seen it in action.
Yeah. So anyway, here's one of those. Here's one of those bars. This is a Atocha, a gold bar, but this is a replica right here. So
what do you mean a replica?
If you were to find that, what are those markings on it?
Well, it's kind of maybe hard to see. I don't know, but if you can. So, for example, there will be like an XX1 over here. So can you see an XX1?
Yeah.
Literally 21 and a gram carat purity. So they had the purity mark on the bar.
Oh, wow.
If you can see like the outline of a seal, a round seal here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the tax stamp that the king took his 20% tax stamp. the
sea
king,
monkey king.
The sea monkey king.
Yeah.
You see these bites over here? Like there's a piece missing from the bar.
Yeah.
They assayed it, to make sure the purity was right, and also sometimes the king took his cut.
Took a little bit extra.
I thought it was one of the baby sea monkeys bit it. Okay, no problem.
And then, for example, they'll be on there Enrata, which is literally where it was mined and minted, this particular bar.
Okay.
So they had markings such as purity, tax stamps, assayers' bites and markings, and then Enrata showing where the bar was made.
That's really cool.
This was the kind of bar that Mel Fisher would walk around with in his pocket. And literally, if he met an investor who wanted to invest in the Atocha hunt, Mel would take this bar out and say, put your hand out. I want to show you something. And then again, plop it in their hand like he did with me. And then this is the kind of stuff that really turns people on and stuff like that. But
can you get those replica? I mean, can you buy those replicas?
Not anymore. This was one that they had made from an actual Atocha gold bar. And this is a really good cast copy made of brass.
Mm.
And then they stopped producing these. I don't know why particularly, but they're pretty cool. And they're heavy and sound good. But I'm going to show you a silver bar, by the way. That's literally 86 pounds. And when I do that, that's not a replica. That 86-pound bar that I have here that I'll show is literally 400 years old.
Let me
hold on a second.
Let me wipe my mouth here
Go
real
ahead,
quick.
man, go ahead.
Well, the biggest problem would be, quite frankly, lifting. When I was younger, it was pretty easy to lift, but as I got older, it's more difficult. I just want to find one of the pictures to show you what we call the mother lode looks like. So the mother lode was, we had brought into the museum the 36 tons of gold and silver. So the actual bar that I'm going to show you could have been one of these.
Wow.
But this was Mel Fisher's Key West Museum. And literally there's a sign there that says Atocha bars and please do not touch. But that's about 4 feet high of bars stacked like cordwood all around the entire museum. Wow. And each of these bars today go for $55,000.
Oh.
They contain approximately $30,000 in pure melt silver, but for an artifact value, you multiply that by 1.52 of melt, and you come up with about 55,000. So imagine, here's a man who spent 16 years of his life looking for this treasure, and now he's got gold, silver bars. And then these are really cool also. These are actual treasure chests. And I know a lot of the viewers might be saying, what the hell is that? And what you're actually seeing is silver turns black under the ocean from corrosion. Silver becomes silver sulfide. And what you're seeing here is, this is a treasure chest. Those are actually all coins clumped together, and that's the whole chest of coins. And there's other chests of coins in those photographs as well.
Oh, wow.
So 11 chests of coins were found. They had 3,000. They were put in 1,000 coin bags of canvas, and then each 1,000 coin bag was put in a box, so there'd be 3,000 coins in a box, and that's 3,000 coins. Those coins today I sell for anywhere from $800 if there's very little detail on the coin, up to $6,000 for a silver coin from the Atocha if there's a lot of details on the coins visible. So those are called amazing. And those are pieces of 8, by the way. That's what that's called. All right, are we ready to show the silver bar?
Let's see it.
We got
drum roll
screen here.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do it without pulling my back or
86 pounds.
Yeah.
You know what you could do? Have it, and we'll have U-Haul send it to us, and this way you don't have to pull your back.
Yeah.
I should
I'll put
really
it behind my Frankenstein collection here. You know, Frankenstein's pretty strong.
I should really just lift up the camera here as opposed to lifting up the bar, but I'm going to do it the stupid way. So anyway, here we go. Let me try. And if this falls on my foot, I'll be leaving the airwaves to go to the hospital for a little while. All right.
Oh,
Wow,
this,
that's
huge.
Wow.
This bar, and I'm going to turn it.
that is definitely a lot bigger than they looked in that picture.
Yeah, that's huge.
Holy crap. That's like a cinder block.
Wow.
Well, it is the size of a cinder block, and it's also very thick, as you can see here when looking at the back. And it has some numbers on the back, which are the treasure salver's numbers. But these bars have all those similar markings that the gold bar had, but this is a real one. And you'll know it's a real one when I do this. I'll just drop it down there, and it's just...
Let me ask you a question. Since you have
See, my face is red.
let me ask you this question, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Now you basically have this one piece, right? What is the story behind the Atocha? Like, what type of ship was it? I know it's a Spanish galleon, but what type of ship was it in its day?
Well, it was the armored car. So if you've ever seen Loomis or Wells Fargo or Brinks,
Right.
the armored car, it was the armored car of its day. So the Atocha was the rear guard ship. The fleet may have had 12 galleons in there, but one of them was the rear guard ship. If the fleet was attacked, they would fend off with cannon, and the rear guard ship, the Atocha, and her sister ship, the Margarita, carried basically the bulk of the treasure.
Gotcha.
And that's how Mel Fisher got to keep the Atocha, because Spanish galleons have been found today, but Spain actually claims them as a warship. And the law of the sea today in 2021 is if a warship is found, the treasure aboard goes back to the state or the government that originally owned it.
I was just about to ask you why, but you answered the question before I did. So go ahead.
So why I've always thought of Mel Fisher as sort of a hero, in that 16-year period that we were talking about earlier, when he was finding dribs and drabs of the Atocha, a couple of million here, a couple of million here, before finding the 400 million, literally the state of Florida came in and took all the treasure away from him. They said, You do not own this. And Mel Fisher and his lawyers said, well, what do you mean? We've been looking for it, and it's out here in the ocean, far from land. It's not, within the 3-mile limits of the borders of the United States. So what do you mean we don't own it? And they said, the treasure belongs to the state of Florida. It belongs in a museum. You have no right to it. And they took it. So Mel took the state of Florida to court, and in that court hearing, he prevailed. And he won. The state of Florida did not own the treasures that he was recovering from the Atocha. And he was celebrating. And then not too far after that, he received subpoena. And the federal marshals came down there and they said, we're the Fed, not the state of Florida. The federal government, that Atocha was not in state waters. That's why you won it, Mel. But it's in federal waters, so it's ours.
Somebody's got to get it, right?
Somebody's got to get it, and the federal government literally took the treasure away from Mel Fisher and the state of Florida. And now the federal government owned the treasure. So in the end, Mel Fisher went to the Supreme Court, and in a precedent-setting 5-4 ruling, the Supreme Court ruled that because it had been abandoned for so long, and in those days they didn't say this, but they might as well. We now know this to be true. Because the Atocha was not a warship of Spain, it was a privately owned ship carrying merchants' gold. Spain could not claim it because Spain didn't theoretically own that ship. The owner of the ship owned it, and he lost it, and maybe they had insurance back then or whatever, but he lost it. And quite frankly, this is the one and only time, maybe the last time, a shallow water billion-dollar shipwreck. It was finders keepers, and
Right.
the Fisher family today is still salvaging the Atocha, and they are the legal owners of that shipwreck.
Now, David, what real quick, what
Sure.
do they know what caused the Atocha to sink? Was it weather? Was it
Yeah, it was
pirates or
No,
It was
the weight of the gold. The weight of the gold, it was too heavy, man.
Well, that's, you're not wrong, Eddie. The storm, the Atocha, was sunk in a hurricane, by the way, and then hit the reefs and broke up. But you're not too wrong in the sense that these galleons with the tons of gold and silver and the ballast stone, they were at the mercy of a hurricane, when the mizzen mast broke and stuff like that, and they lost their ability with the rudder to steer and stuff. They were goners. And it's fascinating just to talk about, human beings and stuff like that. But this is a replica, by the way, but it's a replica that is exactly the size of the links, and the length is exactly one that Mel used to wear around Key West. And he was famous with this particular chain because what he would do is, when he, for example, went on the Johnny Carson show, he said to Johnny Carson, and you can see this, it's a historic video of Mel Fisher on the Johnny Carson show. He told Johnny Carson to put his hand out, and he said, "I'm going to give you gold fever." And what Mel would do is, and you're going to maybe hear it if it picks it up, but he would dribble the gold chain in their hand like this, and then he'd keep going, and he'd say, "Gold never rusts or turns green." And then he'd always drop it from about this height right here, so it made this sound. And that sound of the pure heavy gold chain. So Johnny Carson says, "How much does this weigh?" And Mel Fisher says, "It weighs about $250,000. So Johnny Carson even laughed, like you gentlemen did, because Johnny Carson asked him, "How much does this weigh?" And Mel Fisher thought on the spot of saying, as he was so good at, he said, "It weighs about $250,000.
Oh, that's great.
So that was a classic. And I'll show you, there's a picture of me wearing this very chain. And we were at auction in New York City at Christie's, New York. And it's one of the only pictures where Mel, who always wore this chain around his neck, I actually asked him, could I wear it? And he knew me. I was one of his workers. And he put the chain around my neck, and I walked away from him. And I literally went like over there. And, this was the big Christie's reception hall. And here I am in 1988.
Holy moly, that chain's huge.
That chain literally is the same one I showed you, is the same size, the replica, but this is the real one that I'm wearing. And this chain, I'm 6'1", 6'2". This chain goes from my neck.
Wow.
There's actually two of them, but the bigger one, it goes from my neck to just about my kneecaps
Yeah.
in the picture there.
Wow. That is crazy.
And if you can see on the board in the background there, it says Christie's welcomes Mel Fisher and his golden crew. And it says tomorrow's the day. So what we were doing was we were auctioning off our treasure, or our division as it was called. So the divers put in silver bars and coins and whatever, whoever wanted to sell some stuff. But this was at the Christie's auction house in 1988.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a huge chain. I mean,
A quick question.
I couldn't imagine wearing that.
Dave, what happened to the actual chain? Did they auction it off?
Mel and Dio Fisher, Mel Fisher's wife, have passed away. And yes, there was a Gurney's auction house in New York City, had the Mel and Dio Fisher auction, where they sold some of their belongings, and that chain went for sale. And I'm not sure if I remember correctly. I think it sold for $160,000.
Wow.
I should have bought it. Hey, Todd, you should have told me, man.
Yeah. Hey, David, what about lives lost on that ship? And when you was there anything like that was recovered?
In terms of bones or anything like that? No. I don't know the exact biology, but sea worms and whatever else happens to human bodies for 400 years, there was nothing ever preserved of human bones or anything of that type.
Everything that we found was metal.
Well, there's porcelain and terracotta, which are olive jars, and that material survives as well. But yeah, there were 265 people aboard the Atocha. All but 5 of them perished.
Wow!
Oh, wow!
And the 5 of them that survived, they lashed themselves to the mizzen mast that was sticking up. The Atocha sank in 60 feet of water. They climbed up the mizzen mast and they lashed themselves, and it was like sticking out of the water, barely. And the storm blew through, and they survived. They were not drowned, and they were, in this particular case, slaves. And one of the slaves, when they brought them aboard the boat, that had rescued them, the slave was sent to a marshal, and the reason he was sent to a marshal was he had emeralds in his pocket. And how could a slave have Colombian Muzo emeralds in his pocket? He's a slave. He doesn't have anything. And he says, before the Atocha broke up, I went and knew where the captain and I brought on a 60-pound box of raw, uncut Muzo Colombian emeralds. So they court-martialed him and they hung him, and he didn't live. But anyway, Mel Fisher knew about this, and he'd always thought there'd be emeralds on the Atocha. So what we started to do as divers is we worked the sand, and we vacuumed up the sand and brought it up to a boat and sift through the sand. And to this day, I think they found 3 to 6 pounds of raw emerald.
Wow.
But if there's literally that 60-pound number found, if that number is found, everybody always says the Atocha is worth $400 million. If they find 50 pounds of raw, uncut Muzo Colombian emeralds that should be still scattered down there, the Atocha will go over $1 billion in value.
Wow.
Hold on. Wow. Let me see. That's what, the emeralds?
That's one particular emerald laying on a bunch of other emeralds.
Wow.
But if you know about emeralds, if you see the size and the clarity of that emerald right there, that's the type that's $20,000 per carat.
Wow.
So if that's a 20-carat stone right there, that's $400,000 for
gosh.
that one emerald.
Wow.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So that's kind of what treasure looks like.
Well, I kind of towers over my $8 comic book you guys could see in the background.
But you know what? It's not the here's a quick thing, and it's so important, I think, to talk about. Mel Fisher, when you look him up today, literally his net worth, now he's passed away, but they do show that people, even Elvis Presley's making money these days, by the way. So literally, if you look up Mel Fisher's net worth, he's got $100 million at his passing. And the greatest thing about this was, if you got to know Mel Fisher, which I did, I'm going to show you just some pictures of me and him diving on the Atocha site. And this is really cool because, remember in my story, I was just glad to meet him and see him like a movie star. So when I got to know him, here's me and he at Christmas time, and we're playing chess
Nice.
at his house. And he was really cool because even before the game started, he had a good thing, which I was told he did to everybody. He'd say, "Do you give up yet?" And you didn't even make your first move.
I'm going to have to use that. I play chess with a buddy every week and on an app, and I'm going to, next time we start a game, I'm going to use that.
I'll teach you two Mel Fisher tricks. One was, you say, "Do you give up yet?" before the guy even touches the first piece. And then the second thing he did was, right here, he was losing the game. And his daughter called, "Come on, guys, dinner's ready." It was Christmas dinner. And I think we were going to continue the game. And he purposely stood up, and I saw him kick the table with his knee. And every single piece that was on that board fell down and moved around. And that's what Mel Fisher did. He kicked the table with his knee.
That was one heck of a head of hair too, there, David.
Oh yeah, I'll show you another picture with my head of hair.
You still have a head of hair.
Yeah, that's
I do.
awesome.
Yeah, me and Todd, we kind of lost it with the sea monkeys,
Well, and my hair happens to be a different color than it was when it was jet black.
Yeah.
But here's me and Mel.
Shot,
Yeah, we're over the Atocha site, and I think I had just come up from diving, and I asked somebody, "Could you take a picture of me and Mel?" And there's me and Mel over the Atocha site.
Now, how many miles off of the coast was that site?
40 miles.
Oh, that far? Wow.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, behind that picture there with Mel, it looked like a hangman's noose. Is that what you guys use for cursed gold?
That's
if you
does
came
look like it is.
Yeah, it does. I said maybe that's because somebody's hanging back there.
No, it's actually just holding up one of those prop deflectors. That's those aluminum prop deflectors. So that's what's actually back there, but that's what that is. And then here's a picture of us at the dive ladder. And I don't recall what item I had found, but you see me handing something to Kim Fisher in this photograph. And Mel is staring at it. So it must have been something pretty good, because Mel saw over his lifetime probably every valuable artifact being recovered. So if he was kind of looking at it, it must have been something good, which I don't recall what it was, but I found it and I'm handing it up and bringing it aboard right in that picture right there.
Now, David, what was the average depth that you guys would go?
The beauty of the Atocha was she sank in 60 feet of water, but some parts of the Atocha scattered to shallow areas of what's called the quicksands out by the Marquesas Keys. And literally there were dives in as little as 10 feet of water
Oh,
to
wow.
find some of the Atocha. As a Spanish bronze cannon from the Atocha, by the way. And quite frankly, that's my favorite. Everybody always talks about these beautiful gold and artifacts and jewelry. And my favorite thing would be to own an Atocha, which I don't, by the way. I'd like to own this particular Atocha bronze cannon. Not only is it gorgeous, but it still has the coral around the dolphin lifts in the center there. There's some coral down the barrel. And this was right in the front of Mel's Museum in Key West. And so many hundreds of thousands of people have been to this museum that literally you can see the top where they touched it, just to be able to touch a bronze cannon from the Atocha.
Yeah.
Look at it. Look at how the beautiful bronze is worn.
Right.
And, you know, the green patina area on the side is still visible, but the top and the muzzle there, the very front,
Well,
that's from hundreds of thousands of people.
Well, here, Dave, you had the exercise in carrying 86-pound bars that I'm sure you spent the week doing.
Yeah,
you couldn't have grabbed the cannon and ran. I mean, there was a chance. You had a chance, Dave.
No, you can't grab that cannon and run. I forgot how many tons they weigh, by the way.
I've been to St. Augustine, Florida, and I can tell you those cannons are huge, and it's you would not run with that. You need a truck to get that out of there.
Hey, I want to show you just some of the more easy things that individuals can own from the Atocha, as opposed to you can't own a cannon from the Atocha, and you can't own typically a silver bar or a gold bar. They're usually cost prohibitive, but this is kind of neat. There were maybe about 5 to 7 people in the world who ever did what I'm doing right here. This is actually one of those bags of 1,000 coins that came from a treasure chest. And I'm actually breaking the silver coins out of concretion. There's the concretion of the chest on the table. There's a mallet over there. And you use a rubber mallet, you break the coins out. So I have about 100 silver pieces of 8 in my hand. And then they go through a reverse electrolysis where basically they're cleaned up and you get that black off of there, and they don't look shiny and silver. You don't want them to look that way, but you do get them to the point where they look like silver, maybe a dullish gray silver, but silver. And this is actually cleaning a treasure chest from the Atocha.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's really cool.
When you say treasure chest, did they actually have chest?
Yeah, there were remnants of wood that surrounded the coins, and they still preserved some of that. But for the most part, the wood had rotted away, and just the chest of coins fused together were left down on the ocean floor.
Yeah, because I'm under the impression, I think I read that in reality, there was never really a real treasure chest. They did find one. They have one in the St. Augustine, Florida Museum, which it weighs like 500 pounds, and it's a steel chest. But I was just wondering if they ever really did find a treasure chest. Is
no, that's a lot of TV movie stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not saying, by the way, that there wasn't a ship that in the captain's quarters may not have been, a treasure chest like that, and he had his personal belongings in it. But when you talk of a Spanish galleon, typically the coins were being shipped in mass quantities. They were put in wood chests. The wood rotted away, and this is what a treasure chest looks like. And that might not look so valuable or appealing as maybe the gold, but remember, when each of those coins are cleaned up and they're sold down at the museum gift shop for $1,200, $2,600, whatever the coin. You do a couple of 100,000 coins, do the math, and multiply that, and again, you're up into the millions.
Dave, I know you've been selling them for years. You want to tell our audience who watches if somebody wants to get a piece of Atocha gold?
Yeah, I would appreciate that. My daughter gets her Christmas presents and her Nike sneakers when somebody buys a piece of treasure from me. So I'm gonna show you what it looks like. So here, for example, this is a certificate of authenticity, and these were from the original 1985 finds of the mother lode of the Atocha. So the company is Treasure Salvers, certificate of authenticity. They'll always have Mel Fisher's signature, and they'll have a embossed seal over his signature, his name. At this point, so many coins were found. These were just laser jet, and then they embossed it. But in the earlier certificates from 1976, he actually signed them by hand because there weren't that many found. But for the viewers out there, I'm just going to give you 2 examples. So a coin like this, and Joe, I can give you one if you want.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, come on. All right, where's that?
Eddie, you want a coin?
Of course.
So I'm going to take it out of the flip. This is what I recommend for most people. This is somebody who says, "Hey, I want a coin from the Atocha, but I'm like anybody else. I got a budget." So you get a coin like this, and literally you're seeing the shield of Philip III, King of Spain.
Oh, wow.
And this is a piece of 8. And when you turn it over, there's a cross with lions and castle. And literally, this coin was on the outside of a chest. So what you're seeing is the corrosion and deterioration of the coin that allows you not to see as much detail as one might think is what I love about these coins, because this is the way a 400-year-old treasure coin should look.
Should look, yeah.
If somebody ever comes up to you and they're peddling coins from a Spanish galleon and every one of them looks like brand new shiny silver, you know they're coming straight out of China. And
it's coming from House of the Unusable with Eddie.
An authentic replication from House of the Unusual.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, that's a beautiful coin, though, Dave. That's really cool.
It is, but I'll show you another authentic one. But I'll quickly show a picture. So this is a photograph of one I have in a safety deposit box. But this is what the same type of coin, which is a piece of 8 from the Atocha, looks like. But when they call it a grade 1, you get to see all these kind of details.
That's really, really detailed.
Correct. And a coin like this would have come from the center of the chest as opposed to it being on the exterior. So everybody loves these kind of coins. And when I tell them they're $3,600, they kind of step back into the crowd.
I already did in my television screen.
Yeah. So anyway, that's
now. What do the other coins sell for? The one that you just showed us with the less detail.
That coin is $900. So,
Oh.
hey Todd, I need a quick loan.
You're the supreme ruler of sea monkeys. Maybe you can get them together.
And I'll show you this one. This is really nice. This is a real authentic coin from the Atocha with certificate. And again, it just to show you how the details can be much better. This is called a 2 real. It's a smaller coin. It's a smaller denomination. So just like we had Morgan dollars and we had 50-cent pieces and we have quarters, the Spaniards had 2 reals, 4 reals, and 8 reals, or pieces of 8. So this is a 2 real, and this is called a Lima Diego. It was made in Lima. But just look at the detail on this one.
Oh, wow.
When you see those cross and lions.
That's really cool.
That's cool.
So this is a grade 1. And this being a rare coin, in Key West, if you literally go to Mel Fisher's Treasure Museum, this coin is sold for $12,000.
Wow.
Eddie, I need a loan.
I know. I'm thinking.
I think if we all put our money in together,
We can buy one.
we could buy that cheap $900 one and still need some extra money.
Now, what about appreciation on the value of these things, David?
That's my favorite question, by the way, lately, because it's amazing. As a non-licensed SEC security person selling this stuff, my whole life, I've always, since I got my very first coins from the Atocha in division or traded for something else with other people and got treasure coins in lieu of something else. Make a long story short, every time somebody bought one from me, I always told them, don't buy these things as an investment. Buy it because, it's a piece of history and you're telling me you love the Atocha story and you've seen it on National Geographic and you just want to own one, an authentic one. And they want to buy it from a real diver. They don't want to buy it from eBay, where there are some replicas and fakes on eBay. And I could tell you what people are doing. But quite frankly, obviously everything I have is certainly genuine. But I would sell coins years ago to people for $600 that were grade 1s. Wow. And today, not that they're ever going to, but if they were kind enough to offer those coins back to me, which is a coin I would sell for $3,200. Imagine if I can buy them back at $600. They've certainly appreciated, because remember, the Atocha was found in 1985. So if that's 36 years ago or so, basically there's no more out on the market. Yeah. They're very hard to find. People who wear them.
Now, David, we're coming up on. We got about 3 minutes here. We're really getting into the end. So real quick, where could people find your coins, or how are they able to purchase them from you?
Well, I'm not afraid to even give a phone number or a email.
You know what? We'll have it on the link, so you don't have to even worry. You don't have to put it. We're going to put it in the link, and it's going to be there in the body of the story. So, what else would you like to say in closing?
Well, I'm going to show you my favorite item, and this was a gold ring made of 18-karat gold that was smelted from a gold bar, and it was given to the divers that were there, called the Golden Crew, and this is called a Golden Crew diver's ring.
Oh, wow.
It was given to us by Mel Fisher. And basically, if you see there, it says Atocha Golden Crew. And if you think of whatever team in any year, the 49ers, whatever your team is, but when they win the Super Bowl, they get their Super Bowl ring.
That's what that is.
When you go to that link and you buy an Atocha coin, or you want to buy an Atocha silver bar, or you want to buy an Atocha anything, I'd love to talk to you and tell you what I got, and you can buy some things. But I always joke with people, this is the one thing that upon my passing, I will never have been sold. It'll go to my daughter and stay in my family, I hope, forever. But that's something I'm very proud of, and that's the end of the story. The beginning was trying to get the job, and the end was getting it.
Yeah, definitely a beautiful ring. And Dave, thanks for coming on and giving us your story. We got about a minute left here, so we're gonna close it down here. And again, thank you for coming on, Todd. As always, thank you for coming on and joining us. And everybody out there listening, thank you. Head over to houseoftheunusual.com. We have a free forum site there. You could join, interact. Todd's always on there, doing his stuff and posting some cool pictures and all that, and going back and forth with Eddie. So Also, check us out on Instagram and especially YouTube, where this video will be up along with our past videos. So 30 seconds left. Thanks, everybody, for showing up tonight and giving a great podcast video cast here. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you, gentlemen. It was a pleasure.
All right. Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night, all.